Welcome back to another episode of The Natty Teacher. It is the much anticipated, for me at least, beginning of a new series. It's our off season, and the series will be titled, for now at least, Summer School. Summer School is in session, folks. The Natty Teacher is leading the classroom, and on the docket today, we have our first Push A session of this off season. It is Sunday, June 23rd. Okay, so we are on summer vacation still for another just over 2 months. Our rest week is over. I still did cardio literally every single day. From the day after, the morning after my show, woke up, did a half hour of cardio up until yesterday. Half hour cardio. So 7 days a week. That is the plan for the off season. Half-hour sessions of cardio at a 6 resistance on the recumbent bike for, keeping it in that 70 to 75 RPM range. Some days fasted, some days not. I would say for this off season, based on my summer schedule with my wife's work schedule and my training schedule and all that, and babysitting my kid, obviously, and having to spend a lot of time with her, which will be an absolute blast. I've already been having a blast with her. Just over this past week, it was a ton of fun. Most likely the majority of my cardio right now will be post-workout, not immediately. We'll have a couple hours in between, a couple meals in between, just to kind of have that little bit of a rest, start to have that recovery process from weight training, space those two things out by at least a couple hours. But once we get back into school in the fall, a couple months from now, then we will put that back in fasted in the morning, at least during the weekdays. So for now, though, we are going to be doing the majority of the time, at least, our cardio will be post-workout. But anyways, who wants to talk about cardio right now, man? Jeez, we got our push session. I'm excited. I'm going to go in there. I don't really have a ton of expectations as far as strength or anything like that. Like I said, I haven't taken a week off in a while. I did put myself into a caloric surplus, so I am, at this point, I kind of added calories as the week went on to rebound effectively. I actually only gained from when I was my fully depleted state till now. I weighed in this morning, and I was only up about 6 pounds. So coming off of a show, only being up 5-6 pounds or so, that is exactly where we wanted to be. I didn't want to be above 10. That was my goal. Is when I rebounded, I didn't want to be above 10 pounds heavier than I was, when I was in my fully depleted state. And so we are in a prime spot for sure. Okay, definitely a prime spot. Weighed in this morning at 193.5. So like I said, my fully depleted state prior to when I stepped on stage last weekend, the day before I was 187.2. So that was, that was my prep low for sure. So only up, like I said, just over 6 pounds. So that's a perfect starting point for this off season. The goal over the course of this off season is to get to probably about 210, 215. So we got a little ways to go. We got, well over, probably a little over 20 to 25 pounds or so to gain by the end of this off season, and then kind of go from there. So off-season diet. I did not post a video yesterday. I apologize for that. Just kind of had a longer day. Had actually a really fun day, so it was not a long day in a bad way. But my off-season diet, I will be making a video about that this upcoming weekend. So we'll pause it. But yeah, quite a bit more calories in, a lot more carbs, a little bit more fat, a little bit more protein. Yeah, I feel good. My body feels nice and rested. Like I said, I'm very excited to get back into the gym today and see where my strength is at. And again, we're really utilizing this off season for perfect technique, have that intentional intensity, train our butts off, and come back onto stage maybe late 2025, early 2026. We'll see. And the plan is to actually work with a coach as well for this, for my next show. My last show, where again I did place third, so that was good. Placed third in my class, and that was actually the biggest classic physique class in the whole show, so that was cool. Took third, and that was my first ever natural classic physique show as well. So that was cool to be able to, not only coach myself, but have my first ever show and still place top 3 in my class. So that was cool. It was a cool experience, but I do want to work with a coach for my next prep, at least for the actual competition prep part. The off season, I'm pretty confident about that I'm going to do, do just fine as far as coaching myself for that part, but getting into the actual competition prep part, I am very interested in working with a coach. I already have a few people in mind as well that I plan to reach out to in probably not the near future, but when I get towards the tail end of this off season and I'm itching to get back on stage. But for now, the whole goal is to make improvements based on the package that we brought, and continue to just get better and better. So first exercise you will see me doing, I'll jump into my first working set. It will be a good old pec deck, really opening up that chest, getting a nice pump, contraction, all that, get a nice squeeze, and you're gonna see that top set right about now. All right, so first exercise on the docket, we got a good old pec deck, man, opening up the chest. Again, what you're really going to see in this off season, guys, is we are emphasizing tempo and stretch above everything. Obviously trying to progressively get stronger and stronger, use more weight for better form and better technique, of course, over time, but really focusing on getting deep stretches, really good controlled tempo, and go from there. So I did 2 total working sets of the pec deck here. This was my top set. Then we dropped the weight by about 20% and did a back off set. This was, of course, after doing some good band and very light plated mobility work as well. So again, 2 total sets of the pec deck here to get us started for the chest portion of this push day. Then a new exercise on here. What? This is a plate loaded incline press. It's actually 4 plates and a quarter on there. This was my top set. You can't see the 25s, but I promise you they're there. I wouldn't lie to you. So what we're doing here is we're getting that really good stretch. I was actually pausing in the bottom of the hole here. Next time I do this, I'm gonna not quite stretch, just a little bit, not quite as far, but pretty close. We did 3 total working sets here. So this is my top set. Dropped the weight down to 4 plates and did 2 additional working sets there. All 3 of these sets were between that 6 to 8 rep range. So going nice and heavy, and a good starting point with this exercise to progressively get stronger. Then this is a recognizable one, or it should be, a flat machine press. But again, I would say we're emphasizing the stretch even more, sitting in that hole for a second and then pushing through. You'll notice too, in this off season, one of the things that I'm trying to avoid, at least for as long as I can here, is any sort of accessory. So any kind of elbow or knee sleeves or wrist wraps. I'm just trying to kind of work with that. I feel like those were, I don't want to say a hindrance to me, but I'm trying to not have to use those as much. I'll use them as needed, but for right now, we're trying not to use them as much. This is my top set here. Again, top sets we're keeping in that 5 to 8 rep range. We had 7 here, so that's good. So we will slightly increase next week. And then we did a back off set. So that was it for the chest portion. 3 exercises, 7 total working sets to start us out. Then one of my favorites, but you'll see that the range of motion is actually even a little bit higher. Weight is a little bit lower, but so is the seat, and range of motion is a little bit higher, and control is even more. We're not using really any body English on this exercise whatsoever here. We are really trying to get those side delts as stretched as possible and pumped as possible. We did 3 working sets at this weight, all for 7 reps, actually, coincidentally. 2 of them were straight sets. One of them was a Maya rep match set. So just we had to take we did 5 in a row and then took a brief, 15-second-ish rest and then did an additional 2 reps, And then we did 1 back off set where we dropped the weight 20% and just repped that out. I think we hit like 13 with that back off weight. So 4 working sets of this machine side lateral. This one, you're gonna notice it is double speed here because this was this was 25 total reps here. So it's just 1 working set. But what it is just an underhand easy bar front raise, so a cable front raise, okay? So what we're doing here is we're getting a nice stretch. It's obviously sped up, as you can tell with people in the background. But what we're doing here is we're really trying to, I wanted to have a little bit of direct front delt work, but I wanted to start off slow. Okay, so I wanted to just add it in kind of progressively instead of just going from 0 working sets of direct front delt work like this to then all of a sudden doing 3 or 5 or something like that. Wanted to start with just 1 and eventually we'll go to 2 and then maybe 3. So I'm taking a quick rest here. I believe we did like 15 in a row and then, took a quick breather here. Did an additional couple reps, took another little breather, and it got a total of, like I said, 25 reps here. So it was kind of like a rest pause type set here. Great intensifier, by the way, where you just do as many reps as you can, rack it, do as many reps as you can again, rack it, and just keep going until you just literally can't do any more reps. I definitely had a little bit more in the tank here for sure, but not too much. But a great exercise for the front delts. Really trying to squeeze those front delts in that, with the arms straight out there, have a brief hold. I know it's kind of hard to tell with the double speed, but I do have a brief hold at the top of each rep where I'm really squeezing the crap out of those front delts. So felt really good. Again, 1 total working set here, 25 reps. Next week we'll probably jump to maybe 60 pounds, because I think this was only like 50 pounds here. So we'll jump to 60, do another set of 25. Now this one, some V-bar pushdowns. Look, this one definitely had a little more ego, a little more, body English. And when I say body English, just a little bit more shoulders than I would like. I watched this back and I was like, not horrible, but definitely can be better. So I need to have the elbows slightly more in front of the body, which I did for my back offset, so that was good. So watching this back definitely did help me for sure. But yeah, little bit too much use of the shoulders here, but we did 3 working sets of this V-bar push down. Felt awesome. Okay, reps, in that 6 to 15 rep range or so. Then I'm only going to show you one arm here because 2 would kind of be pointless because it's the exact same thing. One of my favorite newer-ish tricep exercises, some one arm cuffed cable pushdowns here. Saw this from John Jewett, so I got to give credit where credit is due. But you can see that for each rep, I'm stretching all the way up past 90 degrees, so that arm's coming really up. It almost looks like I'm flexing the bicep, and then I am extending down and holding just briefly in the bottom of that movement, like right there, a nice little squeeze, and you can see that croissant on the back of the arm, that tricep, can see all 3 of those heads firing. So top set was 8 reps per arm. Then we did 2 back off sets that were both the same weight, dropped the weight just over 20%, and did 2 sets of 12 there. Then threw the shirt back on, did some calves. Oh boy, howdy. This was humbling. Usually for seated calves, you'll see me use, 4 or 5 plates or so. But I'm like, you know what? With calf training, I want to approach it slightly different in this off season, and I really want to work in that stretched position. So what you're seeing here is I'm working with, just like 3 plates, nothing crazy. But what you'll see is at the bottom of each rep, if you watch my heels, I'm going all the way down as far as I can. Hopefully I get that even further as my mobility gets better. And we're stretching all the way down and actually holding for roughly about a 5 count. So like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 count like that. And then up and, pulsing to the top, getting a nice squeeze. And then again, getting back into that stretch position, really working in that stretched position. So we did 3 total working sets with this weight here. Again, trying to keep all of those sets between 6 and 10 reps. So we did a top set of 10. I think we did the same weight, but waited about 45, 50 seconds. Did it again for 8, and then again another 45 second to a minute break, and hit that for 7. Dude, it burns like a son of a gun, this stretch does, I'll tell you what. But yeah, so I will talk about some of the other stuff that I did not have in my outro here. Post-workout car chat incoming now. Awesome workout, guys. Felt great to be back. My body right now, dude, for the most part, I would say feels like very much so healed, which is nice. Was feeling absolutely full as a gosh dang brick house. That was a good feeling. Like I said, I'm only up, about 6 pounds, for my stage weight. So I'm really not super overly heavy right now. Conditioning is still relatively decent. I mean, definitely a little more blurry for sure than what it was, before stepping on stage, but not too bad. Strength is solid for sure. Endurance is good, put it that way. Endurance is pretty good, that muscular endurance, but I can definitely tell that my body's coming off of a week off. If you've ever taken a week off, after training for a while, and then you come back, here's usually what happens if you have not. But if you have, you probably have had this happen to you before. When you come back from a week off, that first week back usually should be pretty good. Sometimes you'll even break personal records, but it's that next week, like once you get that full week under your belt, get back into the rhythm of it, get your body, full of blood and pumping, blood into the muscles and, getting all those great contractions and all that kind of fun stuff. Usually it's that second week back where it's like, like, all right, here we go. But yeah, man, no, it was a great workout all the same. Felt awesome, felt really strong. A few different exercises in there that we're going to be running in this first training cycle or mesocycle, whatever you want to call it. So for the next roughly 6 to 8 weeks before we deload, we're going to see where we're at. After 6 weeks, if we're still feeling good, we're going to push it to 8 weeks. And then after that, for sure, if we've already ran it for 8 weeks, then we will take a deload week after that. But, again, just going to kind of play it by how we feel. So we'll check back in after 6 weeks of running this training cycle. But felt awesome. Like I said, great workout. Felt really good to get back. The only thing I did not film, just as a heads up, and this is just kind of a consistent thing, I actually did film some calves purely because I changed up how I was training calves today, just a little bit, and it's going to be kind of consistent with this in the off season. So I wanted to make sure that I filmed at least filmed it once to show you kind of how I'm going to be doing it. Just some tempo changes and all that I talk about in my voiceover. But yeah, did not film abs. I did do 3 sets of some rope crunches, or just cable crunches, and 1 set of side crunches that I'm trying to throw that in just to kind of, see if I can maybe tighten up my obliques a little bit, add a little bit more tissue there without widening the waist. But did want to just throw that in, give it a whirl. I'll try it for the next few weeks, maybe once or twice a week, throw it in and see how it feels and see if I, notice any difference. So anyways, phenomenal workout, man, 10 out of 10. Glad to be back in the gym. Tomorrow should be a relatively early upload as well, probably even early. Well, I don't know, it'll depend on my schedule, but with my daughter, but should be a relatively early upload as well. It's gonna be an early morning training session tomorrow. So we have our pull A training session tomorrow. Quite a few of the same exercises, a few different ones, just as a heads up. So there is, like I said, a lot of similarities between my, what I was already doing for my pull A sessions, but a handful of differences as well that I'm very, very much so looking forward to. So anyways, yeah. So join me tomorrow for that pull A session, show you how to blow up your back, rear delts, biceps, all that kind of fun stuff. And guys, summer school has began. The off season is underway, and I could not be more excited, man. I'm feeling good. Can't wait to get freaking huge. So anyways, join me tomorrow. But for today, I'm the Natty Teacher, and school is out. I'll catch y'all tomorrow.